Hi, I'm Joe Connolly to introduce you today to Omar Rada, who has started a business called Misen cookware that caught our attention because it is beautiful cookware, very expensive looking, but not that expensive. So we wanted to ask Omar what the niche was that you saw and how you're managing to do what you're doing with your business, Omar.
Sure. Like a lot of the other direct-to-consumer businesses that have started, there was this opportunity that people realized that you can sell gorgeous, high-end quality for really low prices by cutting out the middlemen, as is the common phrase. And in the kitchenware industry, I think it's actually even more important. We're selling tools that really impact how you cook. Good tools improve your cooking. And so we're selling really high quality tools for very accessible prices.
By taking out the middleman.
By selling direct to consumers and taking out traditional wholesale relationships.
So, is that to say then that you're starting to believe that these wholesale relationships served no useful purpose? Or this is just another way to substitute it? There was a lot of value and markup in there.
There is, and I think it's more about cadencing and when you go into those relationships. I think from a pure numbers perspective, most product is purchased via wholesale, at least in our category. And so it's not to say that it's not valuable, quite the opposite, but for young companies starting out, the ability to market and sell directly to consumers and provide a win-win is really, really crucial starting out. Down the road, wholesale is really interesting. But for right now, we're just focused on delivering value to the consumers.
Well, down the road, you're going to be able to charge exorbitant prices too and blame it on the middleman.
You know, you would hope the scale would offset some of the money that you're giving to retailers, and it, you know, it is funny. A lot of these D2C companies have demonized middlemen and wholesalers, and that's not true. Everyone's just trying to make a living, and there is value to being able to go into a store. Target's a great store, so.
But what were you doing and what business were you in, if it was a different one, when was the idea that hit you just that, wait a minute, the internet can allow me to take out middleman costs to get started here? How'd you get where did you see the opening?
It certainly wasn't my idea. Companies like Warby Parker, Everlane, Casper, they were the ones that pioneered what is now a fairly commonplace model. I think the dots that I connected were sort of observing what a lot of other very successful companies had done, and my interest and passion for cooking, kitchenware, the kitchen tool industry. And so just by connecting those two dots and then going out and trying it, that's how it all got started.
Do you even recall if you thought to myself how I can connect these dots, or whether it just jumped up and struck you one day, I can do what Warby's doing, but in cooking?
Like many things, it starts with frustration. Once I realized at a certain point how much good tools actually can improve your cooking experience, and I went to buy some and had sticker shock. That was a few years prior to when all these companies really started picking up steam. And the idea and the frustration just lingered.
Built.
It just built and then sort of sat in the back of my mind. And once you saw a lot of these companies taking off, that's really where it clicked. Like, hey, there's no one doing this in the kitchenware space. Why can't we do this?
There's so many companies now like that. What was it that was different when you used high-end cookingware? What did it give you that low-end didn't?
First and foremost, it truly cooks food better. I'll give you two very brief examples. Thick, quality cookware made with good materials heats evenly, and so when you're searing a steak, you have a nice even steer. There's no hot spots. It actually cooks food better. A knife, it may seem counterintuitive, but a really sharp knife made with good steel will hold an edge longer and is safer to cut with. It won't slide off your food. And those nice, clean cuts actually do produce better quality food. If you cut an onion, it affects the flavor, and it will make you actually cry less. So at its core, it actually helps you cook better food. But aside from that, it lasts longer, and it's more fun to use.
How do you get this across online? How do you make that message? Do you say that on your website?
We do, and I think, as a young company, it's still part of the learning process. A lot of people, and one of the reasons for this model is you can communicate information so much more effectively. If you walk into, going back to wholesale, any aisle of any, kitchenware store, you have 100 options and you have features just tossed at your head.
Right.
This steel, this, yada, yada, yada.
All means nothing.
But what does it mean? What does it help you do?
And there's nobody there to explain it to you.
There's certainly...
Usually, right?
Usually, and to be clear, I mean, there certainly are incredible people helping you in store, but it's inconsistent, and you can't deliver that same quality service to everyone. And this way, you can really give people the info that they need or that you think they need to help make really good choices.
How and where do you make these gorgeous products?
Yeah, we make for our knives the steel in Japan. It's really gorgeous, high quality and exceptionally consistent steel. And we make the assembly outside of Shanghai, and then we get it on over to the US and we distribute it from here.
And the pans or the pots?
Those are also made from a different partner of ours, also in the Shanghai area.
Now, do you have to go there a couple times a year, or no, or yes?
I go there about 4 or 5 times a year, yeah. So.
To what? To quality control, press the flesh, shake hands? What do you go there for?
So we have a team over there that we partner with that's there constantly in the area, and so they're in the actual factory doing a lot of the sort of day-to-day work. But, China gets a really bad reputation for having poor quality. I actually think completely the opposite. They have some of the best manufacturing in the world. But like anything, you get what you put in. And for us, it's incredibly important to be a company that actually values every step of the process. And transparency is really important. So there's a little bit of pressing the flesh, certainly, and you want to maintain good relationships, but we want to see our stuff made at every process. If something goes wrong, we want to see and we want to learn. It only helps us as we design new products. Here's a real new business model question. Sure.
You're doing serious physical product. I mean, you're not just selling website design, but you're selling things.
Yeah.
Do you have an office with employees somewhere, or what? I find myself asking you.
Yeah, we do. We have an office here in Brooklyn in a neighborhood called Gowanus. And while we have a warehouse, our office is stacked to the brim with samples, and we're always designing and testing. And so we have to sort of creep around our office like this because there's no room.
How many employees do you have here?
We have 5 employees here, and a small but growing team.
And you do your own website? Do you have a person who does it, or you do it, or what?
We have an in-house designer, but we partner with an external developer who we work very closely with.
What business were you in before you started Misen?
Immediately prior to Misen, I had started another clothing company that was sort of technical fabrics with fashionable cuts, sort of an early athleisure player. And then prior to that, I worked at a company here in New York called Fresh Direct for about 6 years, doing a number of things.
So you were early at Fresh Direct, ahead of your time in early athleisure, whatever that was. And were you at Fresh Direct just because it was a job, or you were interested in food and cooking even at that point?
No, I mean, prior to Fresh Direct, I'd worked in finance for a couple of years, and to me, working with companies, creating products is really what gets me excited. I think a trap a lot of people fall into who like food. What does that mean? That's such a broad area. Food is just in my DNA, but I considered going to culinary school, and that just wasn't the right route. Opening up a restaurant is statistically not a great business, and so Fresh Direct, it may seem commonplace, but they've been around for almost 20 years.
Right.
And at the time, and even now, it's just on the cutting edge of food and engineering and commerce, and it's just a fantastic company.
What did you do at Fresh Direct?
I worked in finance and strategy for my first tenure there, and then I helped run merchandising for my second tenure there.
So all this leads up to Misen, right?
Product
Everything
design
you
and
just
food.
said.
Yeah.
And numbers.
And numbers, yeah.
And so often on these interviews, we find people had deep previous experience in something related to what they're doing now. And I'm finding so many people in the prime of their mid-career who are going off and going on their own with very sophisticated businesses and great products like you have done. This, I think, is relatively new, the number of people doing this.
I think you're exactly right, and there is a somewhat convoluted but accurate quote I heard, which is, there's never been an easier time to start a company, a harder time to make your first sale, but an easier time to make your second sale. You can get a website up and running in 5 seconds. It's really hard to sell something, but when you do, you have their data and you can remarket.
What was your first good sale with Misen?
Well, we launched on Kickstarter. We were a bit unique, and so our first sale was for our flagship product, which is a really gorgeous, high-end but affordable chef's knife.
You sold one or a box, or what was it? Did you sold one?
So
A piece.
yeah, the thesis for us as a company is focus on one thing at a time, and there is no more important tool than a single high-quality chef's knife. No bulky blocks, no overpriced sets, just one quality knife. And so Kickstarter is a crowdfunding platform where you can effectively, for commerce, think of it as pre-sales. And we wanted to see if anyone was interested in this idea. And we worked for nearly a year getting ready, got pretty far in the manufacturing process, but we launched it for pre-sales, and we had a $25,000 goal, and we ended up selling over $1 million to 13,000 people. So it was just an incredible validation of the concept.
What did you give them for their contribution? They would get one of the knives.
Yes, they received for their contribution a knife.
And just so we can understand, and I can understand how Kickstarter worked at that time, they gave you sometimes more than what the knife would retail for?
Generally, it's the opposite. Because these people, these backers, as they're known, they're really funding your dreams in many cases, and so you have to show your gratitude. Often for physical products like ours, it's in the form of some kind of exclusive product or an early bird discount, so to speak. And we did both of those things.
Right. I gave an early bird discount. But were you just blown over by the response? $1 million?
Very much so. I mean, I would be lying if I said we expected that. Our goal was 25,000. 25,000.
Yes.
Internally, we would have been very excited with 50, 75. So over $1 million was well north of what we were expecting or hoping for, and just extremely grateful to the community.
Did you have to caution yourself against becoming too optimistic at the initial response, or was that not a problem?
That's a really good question. I think there was about 5 seconds of excitement, and then many months following of just realism in the fact that we have one opportunity that we can't screw up. You only have one chance to make a first impression. All these people put their trust in us, and exhilarating, but more of like, hey, we have a lot of work to do.
That's a great business quote, too, that you just made. I hope that doesn't become a new legendary one. 5 seconds of exhilaration and 4 years of hard work.
It's work we're thrilled and just fortunate to be doing. But on Kickstarter in particular, there's a lot of people that get a ton of unexpected success and then fall into traps of just really tough production problems or any number of issues. And so for us, we didn't view that Kickstarter as a one-off. We're in this for the long haul. And so just treating those backers who put their trust in us, treating them like the gold that they are, like that's all that matters.
You should do videos for your business on your website, do you?
We do some, we do...
With you, telling your story, just like this. Put this on your website.
I'm not meant for camera. This is, if I had you sort of guiding me, maybe. So we can do it together.
Great story, Omar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll welcome his products into our houses at a reasonable price. What did you call it? I said high-end, but you said high-end, but?
High-end quality, accessible prices.
There you go. You heard it here. Thanks.